start teaching and editing what I call Jesus' teaching. I've used the 4 books above my head to combine them in as one story, and these are the verses where I got them. And then you can see I compiled like stories, so you're going to see text kind of mesh together sometimes. Now this word, I had to copy change a few times, so that's to designate Jesus' disciples when he is with his disciples. Then Jesus called his disciples and told them, because some have remained with me most of the daylight, they have not eaten. Okay, the story continued from a long teaching here above, and he just come down from the hillside, and the location. So where would he be at? Let's see. Oh boy. Him from which is here. He's on his way to go see John. It's by Salem. There's a city right here that I had him by. So I'm thinking he's come from here to here. I think he's got to come down to here, cross over here, and then go here. So somewhere in this area is where Jesus is at right now. Timeline-wise, done this wrong. I got to go back and check some things right now. I changed it from here. I had him here, but if he's coming back from Pernicum, he's already seen John. I've got the days of my videos mixed up here. He's in Copernicum. So this has to be edited right. That can be true. So now I have him in Copernicum. He's got all the disciples with him. So I'm trying to figure out, okay. Trying to find a map that I can say where he's at. He's already picked up the disciples. He's back to Copernicum here. So he's going to go glide over the river here, and then he's going to return here. So somewhere he's in here. Okay. Put another map here to explain, hopefully, I now remember. As he just returned from these 2 areas, they came over Lazarus, they've seen him heal the paraplegic and tell him his sins are forgiven. And now he's returning to Copernicus. Just trying to refresh what's going on here. I've been working on my lawn. So didn't stream for a day, and I got confused when I started streaming today. And I started right here, I believe, today. That was all changed. That's all correct. That's still correct. I'm changing it for 12-year-olds to be able to read. I don't want them looking up in a secular dictionary for this word. So Roman captain, pretty much the same. Notes on here. The notes were the guys that are putting the text together put that note in there. So it's got to be, it's near Copernicus here. He's talking to the multitude. Teaching. Yeah, it's going to be going. Okay. All right. So he's by Copernicus. He was at the, he's just come down the hillside. Then Jesus called his disciples and told them, because some have remained with me most of the daylight, and they have not eaten, and I do not want to send them away hungry. Jesus said, they do not need to leave. I will give them food to eat. A disciple, don't know which one it was, asked him where will we get many breads to feed the crowd. Jesus said, how many breads do we have? And he answered, 7 breads and a few fish. And I'm going to put in dried. Spelling. Far off, and that is dried fish. They can last longer. Dried, they can salt it, and they can carry it with them too. Let's see with dried fish. He said, bring them to me. Then he told the crowd to sit on the grass. And he took their breads and fish. Then he looked towards heaven and asked Yahweh for a blessing. And then he broke them and put them in their sacks. Now, I had to put sacks here. I think they had baskets, but they're traveling, and each one of them would have had like what they carried for their personal changing of clothes and stuff. So put them in their sacks and gave them to his disciples. And this is when Jesus was with them, disciples to pass out to the crowd, and everyone ate from the broken pieces. As they ate, Jesus told them, and I'm blending the story together with this text. Um, I want to put them in there. Yeah. Stacks the kid or right the word. Stacks the would be 230 to pass them out. The people would, trying to figure out what would be better than the word sacks to make it more clean. Leave sacks there, but I think people are going to say that, no, it's pretty dirty to put them in sacks. So if I get rid of this, then I know that I'm not the one putting them in the sacks. Then he broke them and gave them to his disciples to pass out to the crowd. Gotta be something they put them in. Towels if they would have been able to put together. Use their towels because at least that would be clean. They're going to wash and then they're going to use this towel and then rinse it. And if their waist or something as it's drying as they're walking around. I think that's probably the best I can do to get that answer correctly, or what he put them in. Think about that when I go to edit that again. So, as Jesus told them, as they ate, Jesus told them, prophecies from his prophets were all about me coming until John. Since then will be my gospel of my kingdom from Yahweh, for my teachings are for everyone. This heaven and earth will pass away before his prophecies of me fades away. This is just being said a little bit different than above when he said not a word would pass away. And that has to be our Creator not remembering or not forgetting every word that and every promise that he said, because it's not in the text. So we know Jesus couldn't have been talking about the text, because Jesus also tells us that they're going to rewrite the text for their God. So he knows that the text is not truthful. They told Jesus, what you did is a miracle for us to witness and believe you, like our forefathers who ate manna. Jesus said, I say to you, our Father sent me for your true bed, for me be your friend. I think that's saying it better. Probably did it this one way and I did it a different way. So, Father sent me to be your true bread, and I am your bread for life with me. For whoever believes me will no longer thirst. You have seen me and believed me, and everyone your Father gives me, I will not cast them out from heaven. For I have come from heaven to obey his will, and everyone who gives me will raise them on their last day to my kingdom in heaven. This is the will of our Father, that everyone who believes me will have eternal life with me. Will or promise. I think it's our Creator's will is more important than promise. Will is the better word. After they gathered what was left over in their towels, here's the word sex. That's why I used the word sex above. But that wasn't reading right, so it's got to be changed to towels here. After he gathered what was left over in their towels, he sent them away. There were about 300 who ate. Change that 200 and I used to be the one that that's wrong. I took over for the guy that planned the parties at work. So to feed 300 was awfully a lot of people. I'm going to change this to 100. And I'm thinking I got to make this correction later, because this is a lot of people to feed, to sit there and break up bread and fish for that many people. That takes a long time to prep that. And there's 12 of them. So the thing here is he's breaking it up. And I'm sure our Creator blessing that when they went and grabbed it, that it was refilling. But still 100 people, 12 of them going out. I'm going to say 100, change that to 100. Then he made his disciples. Oops. Get into a boat and go to Decapolis. Then he sent the crowd away and went to a hill for prayer. It's got to be close for this. So I told him to come down from the hill. As he's walking, he went over here. Because somehow he's got to be close to the boats. The shore. think that would be better. For prayer. So now this is a map. So we're somewhere here. These bumpier parts are land that's higher than the lake. And actually, this is sloped down because Lake Galilee, I think, is like 100 feet below shore sea level. So that's it's going to be leaving from here to here. Is that the right place? It's already far from land. Now the problem with this is what I was looking for. I'm thinking it's from over here. If this is maybe 9 miles, close to 10 miles this way, and maybe 7 miles this way, I know how far you can row in a boat. Um, and so I'm saying this is probably about 3.5, 4 miles. And that can be done easily within a couple hours. So, but as you know, there's going to be a wind that's going to be tossing up here. So we most likely set them out, and then the breeze on a lake this wide, a gentle breeze on the lake will cause whitecaps this far away. So there probably weren't whitecaps when they got in the boat, but as they took off, then it become harder to row. Now here, I have them getting in one boat. To have that many, there's 13 of them in the boat. He's going to join them 14. This is rather a large boat. But if he's 25, he's traveling with guys that are 25 or younger or in that age. So they aren't huge people or males, but they're in a larger boat. This boat would had to be to travel from to have the boat had to be large enough for this to be like somebody's pasture, like they'll take them over to this place or another place and not walk on land to get to there. So this boat can only be a boat large enough to hold many people. So what would you, I don't know what kind of, so I'm trying to put a word before the word boat. come up with the word to be. So I don't want people to get straight too far, but still have the understanding that this, and I'm going to add this word, a faring boat, to go to the Decapolis. Then he sent the crowd away. This means there would have been some oars for them to row, but they're taking passengers' place. So, and they would have known that there would have been white caps enough for this boat to be. I'm just trying to think of, because I've thought about this a lot when I've done this. So I'm definitely going to have to make sure it's a faring boat. I've got to check to make sure that's the right word I'm looking for. Then he sent the crowd away and went to a hill for prayer. Now the boat was already far away from land, and now they were struggling to row, for the wind was against them. In the night he came to them gliding over the water. Because there's whitecaps, Jesus didn't walk on the water. That he'd have to keep going over the whitecap. That doesn't make sense. But down here, someone shouted, "Ghost." So what do ghosts do? A ghost glides over the water. When the disciples, they're by themselves right now. The disciples saw him gliding over the water, and they were frightened, and someone shouted, "Ghost." After he called out, Jesus said, "Have courage, it is me, do not be afraid." Peter asked him, "Come to me, command me to come to you." He said, "Come to me." Then Peter got out of the boat and walked above the water. And as he came towards Jesus, the waves frightened him, and he began to sink. He cried out, "Lord, save me." Jesus reached out and grabbed him and said, why did you doubt me?" Then they got into the boat, and the wind stopped. Then they said together, "You are truly Yahweh's Holy One." This made them fully believe. They had been watching him do miracles, so there has to be text about the Holy One. So let me go through the verses to see. These are all the verses. Okay, he will not undergo decay. From Psalms. Go to this verse here. Are Mark and John. Can't think of so that verse. I'm not sure what verse they're speaking about. To say that that's what they were read about him being special would have been common news for them or story to them. So, anyways, when Jesus said, "Why did you doubt me?" This is like Peter is more worried about the water and what he's doing than concentrating on Jesus' command, is what Jesus is talking about. You took your eye off of me and you are going to fail, pretty much is what this is talking about, or you're going to stumble. As they landed by the city of Decapolis, which was on the east side of the Lake Galilee, a male from their graveyard with demons met him. He wore no clothing and was living by the tombs. Now I have to explain the word tombs. So you have a graveyard that usually has to have a road to get to the graveyard. So they come up to the shore, and this must be a major road going up to the city. So they've landed on the boat. They've gone up a little bit from the shore, and they're now at a graveyard. And at a graveyards, they had what tombs are is slabs that they laid the body on. So this had to be hewed into a hillside. So the thing here is they didn't bury their dead right away. They put them on a tomb. They wrapped their bodies all the way up with cloth, and then they'd lay spices around them and give them a chance to wake up, which is usually 3 days. And if they don't, then they would bury it. So it's kind of a place that would be someplace where these bodies would be laid, and still knowing that they might not be truly dead, but look dead to people as appearance. So night and daylight, he was in the graveyard. On the hills he cried out and would hit himself with stones. I was thinking, would he beat himself with stones? Beat himself with stones, wanting out the legion out from his body. They're toying with his mind. Eat would be better. Beat himself with stones. Now, stones are small enough that you're picking up in your hand. They aren't a rock, which needs 2 hands, but a stone. Okay. When he saw Jesus, he fell before him and said in a loud voice, would he asked them, and said in a loud voice, what do we have to do with you? So here's the legion coming in at this time. Second here, no, this is better. For you are their son from Yahweh. We beg you not to cast us from him. Jesus asked them, What are your name? What are you named? They said, Legion, for we are many demons. But then they begged him not to command back into the abyss. There was a herd of goats grazing by the hill. If you notice, I'm using the word goats and not pigs, because you can't herd pigs, right? You have to put them in a pen. They're just so powerful they're going to do what they want to do. You can't control them. they would kill the dogs, okay, the larger goat or larger pigs. They'd just chomp them. And sometimes pigs are known to be able to just crack right through the bone and just snap the bones when they're eating. So, or, yeah, so it has to be goats were grazing by a hill, and they begged him to let them enter the goats. He gave them permission to enter the goats, but the herd rushed down into the lake and drowned. One of the herders that witnessed what happened ran and reported it to their city. So even though this guy was notorious, they still would herd their goats by the grazing along the road that's on the way to the city from the lake. Okay, that's all possible up here. So one of the herders that witnessed what happened ran and reported it to their city. So they came to see Jesus, and they saw that male with demons, and they were gone from him, and he was sitting by Jesus, clothed in his right mind. Now they became frightened. So when I talked about them having a bag before, now you know that they traveled with a sword. We're going to find out they had swords. Going to find out that they had now a bag for their clothing and stuff. So I'm hoping the towel was in the bag. So the thing here is I think they had backpacks at that time. I'm just not seeing that. I think they would have had it slung over their shoulder and probably tied to them somehow. But that's where the clothing came from. Then the other herder told them again. Then the other herder told them again how the male with demons was healed. Then the unbelieving Jordanians begged him to leave their region. So now you know that I've changed this area here to Jordan. And this is just, they had it with a letter I of some sort. I can't remember, I changed it so long ago. But that's, well, I just changed it to the Jordanians over on this side. Begged them to leave their region. But as they were getting into the boat to return, that male begged them to go with them. Jesus told him, return to your family and tell them what your king has done for you. And he went proclaiming in Decapolis what Jesus done for him. So they most likely had sat and ate with the guy for that other guy to run and then bring people out, because they were still by the tombs. When they met him, they would have recognized the other herder. That other herder would have come with them, so he tells them, well, that herder was going, one of them was going around telling them some of them were coming out to see what's going on. Okay. Just trying to put everything in my head to make sure that that's everything there was good. Thus fulfilling Yahweh's promise from the land for Ezekias. Is this spelled right? I just have a hard time right now. I've had a stroke. Okay, I got to admit it. My eyes, both my eyes don't see text real clearly in a small spot. So sometimes you'll see me moving my head, or I'll say now when the word is how. So then it's when I move my eye, then I see the word a little bit better. So, and just part of life. I'm seeing better. I just don't see a lot. So that's part of the reason why I'm not reading every word. Some of them get faded out as I'm trying to concentrate on the words ahead. So, anyways, just what's happened. Then by the way of the lakeshore to the east of Jordan, to the Lake Galilee for the pagans and those sitting in darkness, they will see his great light. Now, where is this text located? I don't know. I'm going to make a note that if I can find it. But the thing here is it might not mean the Jordan that we know as the Jordan. It might be another words for the word Jordan, and this would be them editing that text to update this text. But it seems like this is prophecy. So I have to seriously look for that text. Before he got in the boat with his disciples, to go to Gennesaret. I think that's how you pronounce it. Straight across. Yeah, I mentioned 4 miles at the max. So this happened. It's just hard to explain how 4 hours they couldn't get across rowing because the waves were breaking up or halting them, slowing them down. And if the water is causing waves to come this way and not so much this way, they would be large. And you can't go right straight lines, so they got to go across and ride with the waves. So they were probably zigzagging across to get across. That would make more sense and reasonable. I just know everybody's going to question everything. Look, he had a chance to do it right, and we found a flaw that he didn't think this through, and it should be edited or changed this way. Don't do any changing. Diviners and fortune tellers came to argue with him by seeking from him his sign in heaven. The word heaven is in a capital letter, meaning the stars. The first heaven was where the birds, or the third heaven is where the birds fly. The heaven that they're talking here is the second heaven where the stars are at, and above the North Star is where heaven is located. Then after sending that crowd away, they got into a boat, went to another region. Yeah, the word before he got into the boat, okay? Because I was going to say diviners and fortune tellers, that would have been the group that came out and heard about Jesus, but they weren't on the other side. In other words, this was for those people on this side, and these people on this side weren't as unto our Creator and obeying the commandments. Here, this side right in here, these guys did that very well. That's why Jesus could find so many disciples and knew they were good. So then after sending the crowd away, got into a boat and went to our region. Okay, so that's where I'm trying to make this distinction here in the text. That was a different region, and this is our region. So this was mixed with different races. And you got to remember, this land is was known as East Manasseh, and they were the first ones to be taken away by the Armenians, okay? So this was the first tribe that actually lost land for going on to um, a false creator or a false god. And that's so this place has been corrupt with corrupt people a long time. So there really wasn't been too many to return to this area. So this is them calling that out in our region to differentiate that there's really no Israelis that are living there, except for this one guy that he found that had the demons in him. He told them, "Why does this generation seek signs in the star?" Okay, after this has to be the word. To have this to actually they got in the boat. And after and he told them, I think that works better than them. And he told them, "Why does this generation seek a sign in the stars? And say to you, no signs are ever given by the stars." Um, so this speaks to the zodiac signs in the star that they've been there a long time, and they've been saying by these stars we know how to do this divination, and they were looking for his sign in the heaven or in the stars. There are no signs ever given by the stars. So Jesus is saying, you don't believe in fortune tales and don't pay attention to them. Stay away from them, because he's just calling them out and all those liars and diviners as well, and fortune tellers. Some might call them astrologers today. Then he told them, when it is evening, you can say, there will be fair weather when your heaven is red. If I change this to it'll be evening, so there will be fair stormy daylight. You know how to judge by the appearance of your heaven, but you cannot foretell by the stars for my days. This is going to be Okay, because he's talking about stormy weather, the sky. I think that's more correctly here because I had the word lie here. I'm thinking that was in the text itself, but just what he said here can't be that he's saying just for me and the river. It's to me never of anyone. Jesus gave orders to go to Garden Cetra, Sarah, Jenny Sarah. Spirit starting this word out. They were intended to be asleep. So this makes it the boat that they were in. And it has to be the same boat. As they were intended to be asleep. And the storm was upon them. They were strong. And they became to be in danger. Like I said, just a little bit, that's far. 10 miles. It's incredible how that I lived or I drove my 10-mile around the lake, so even fished there a couple times. But the object here is this here, this lake. You have to understand because a lot of people don't live by the water. So when they're hearing this story, learning this story, just a little breeze consistently will make those waves get huge at the other end, even though it's a little bit. So, and when a strong wind come up over this, then you know that it was really bad, that all of a sudden they had whitecaps pretty quick. The waves are breaking over their boat's bow and taking on water. And so now they had to zig into that long water, and yet even though that they had to turn the boat to do this, and they're using the rowing to steady the boat so it doesn't get turned. I've been in these wake up situations before too, in a smaller rowboat, but you have to weather it out. You just can't go. Your boat will flip over. So they woke him saying, "Save us, our Lord." I think of the word save. Is that correctly being saved? Save. All the other save. It's close. Okay. Or do you not care that we are going to die? He stood up and rebuked the wind, and the lake became calm. Then he asked them, "Why are you worried? Have you no trust with me?" But they were saying to one another, "What kind of male is he? For even the wind obeys him." Okay. Again, Jesus is telling them, when you're with me, no matter what, you're always going to be safe. This is Jesus's point of them having to be told this now, once to Peter, and now again, all them as well. So Peter got 2 lessons, they got only 1. Okay. So, but then they were wondering what kind of male is he, because they're waiting for their king, and yet here they've never heard of any prophet before controlling the wind. Okay, like I said, after Jesus is baptized by our Creator with his breath, there's a lot more that goes up in level of what Jesus can do, and this is one. And they had no words that they knew how to tie him to what they just witnessed. Okay. Now he's going to, as they went to the other side, as they were going to the other side. As they were going to the other side, he told them, "Beware of the leavened bread by your judges, scribes, and priests." They began to discuss among themselves, "We brought no breads to eat." Jesus said, "Why do you discuss among yourselves, you have no bread? Thus you did not understand me. Do you not remember what I did with the seven loaves for the 100? They knew I was going to end up changing that as well. For the 100, how is it that you do not understand? I did not speak concerning bread to eat, but beware of the leavened bread, or the quickly made words from the judges or scribes or priests. Then they understand, he said, to beware of their false teachings by our judges, scribes, and priests. So these 12 haven't been with Jesus. They've probably only been with him now maybe 5 weeks, okay? That's what I'm thinking. 5, maybe 6 weeks. 5 weeks is a month to them. So this would be like 6 months. Maybe he traveled from a month up there. So maybe they were with him close to 7 weeks now, closer to 7 weeks. So what they were witnessing, they kept witnessing more and more. Okay. When they crossed over to Gennesaret, people that heard he was there began to carry their people on stretchers, and who were sick came to him. They asked him that they just touch his garment to be healthy. Okay. So now this area here is where they came to him before, and now that he heard that they had a lot more people knew that he had healed many people. I think he did it by touching them. And he went up through here, and now he comes back to them. They were probably waiting for him to come along the road. But anyways, they heard that he was here now, because they probably heard that he left in a boat, but they wouldn't know where. So now that they heard that he's there, that they just touch his garment to be healthy. While he was talking, there came an attendant for their synagogue. He bowed before him and said, "My daughter is dying. Please come with me and lay your hand on her for her to live, for his only daughter of 12-year-old was dying." So this is kind of like a note that was put in to the story to explain this guy's position. So this would have been like the guys that were compiling the text, like they said, they could only write the words that they knew that they could really trust. And then you can see that they had a filling in of the words. And it might be down here as well to be able to set up the story for them to understand that his daughter wasn't the 20s, 30s, because they were to live together as a family unless they were married off. married to another within their tribe. And as he went with them, the crowd was pressing against him. As he went with him, the crowd that followed him were very close to him. Then a woman who had been suffering from bleedings for a long time from any cut, and I spelled it out this way to help 12-year-olds to understand that that people, when they cut themselves, they don't have enough what we call white blood cells to heal themselves quicker. So she was suffering from these bleedings that she'd have to wrap up, and she knew she'd bleed a long time. Could not be healed by a doctor. Was coming up behind him to touch him, for she had heard, "If I only touch him, you will be healed." And immediately she was healed. Jesus knew his gift had healed, and he turned around to the crowd and asked, "Who touched me?" His disciple said, "This crowd was pressing you, and you ask who touched me." Then Jesus told the crowd, "Someone touched me, for I am aware of their healing by me." As he looked around, he saw the woman. Then the woman knew she was noticed by him. She came and fell before him. Then she told him the reason why she touched him and was immediately healed. Jesus told her, "Your trust in me has made you healthy. Go in peace." This is like the third time, I believe, that Jesus is personally telling that person, "Because you trusted me." These can all go together, and if there are any others mentioned as well, into explaining that these women or these people actually fully believed who Jesus was beyond a shadow of a doubt. Okay, so he was making sure he's confirming this with them of their trust in him, which should lead your belief to a trust in Jesus. I say that a lot, and that's where I get this from, taking your belief to a trust when you read what I've done here. After he spoke to her, someone came up to the synagogue attendant and told him, "Your daughter has died. Why trouble his prophet?" Then Jesus heard this. He said to him, "Do not grieve, for you believe in me, and she will live." Then they arrived at his home, and the mourners were to this is someone. We need to stay in the neighbor. Came up to their synagogue. So they were around, probably consoling his wife when he took off to go get help in his home. The mourners were lamenting him. He told them, "Stop, and leave, for she is not dead, she is asleep." They laughed at him, believing she had died. Jesus did not allow anyone to enter except for Johnny, James, and the girl's father and mother. I'm trying to make sure that John the Baptist and Johnny is different as a disciple. We gotta go check if that's true all the other places. So I gotta make myself, all those names above and below. And then he went to here, and went to her and took her hand and said, "Rise up." As she sat up, he told them to give her some food. Then her parents thanked him. Okay. Trying to think of where the synagogue would be because he went to the city, so the city is larger, and he's going into the streets and going up to her place. This has to be the northern side, and it would have to be placed there, or he would have taught there, and he's going to his home up there a little further. I don't want him to go inland or go downland, I don't think, at this time. Because these, uh, these were uh, they were these were is this the mother? Is this the mother healed? If I miss it, I miss it. If I make just the coloring of the text different, I remember it. Okay. Remember that. And about another 10 days when I go looking at the text to see what I've done. The mother of the sons from Zebedee came to Jesus with her sons, and bowing down, she asked him, "Will you grant me two sons to sit to his right and to your left?" Jesus said, "Do you not know? You do not know what for you, or are they to drink from the cup that I am to drink from?" Now, this is the first sign that Jesus knows he's going to be crucified. Okay, and this is what he's talking about here. And they replied, "We are willing." He told them, You too will drink, then set by my right. Meaning here, you're not going to go through what I did, but you're going to go through for me. So this is Jesus' death. This is going to be their death. Then set by my right. Now, then Jesus said, "You know, rulers for pagans exercise their authority over them. Whoever wants to be great in my kingdom, you are to be a servant for me, just as I, your son for man, I came to serve by obeying Yahweh, by giving up my life." Here, Jesus is saying that he is going to do the will of our Father to die. He's not dying for your sins. He's dying because he's going to give up his life for them to become their king in heaven. Now, whenever he entered their villages, they were laying their sick before him and begged him to touch them. As he touched them, they were healed. So now we've got Jesus leaving here and going down these roads. Now, most likely there's other roads through here. So now he's going down through here and he's visiting many cities and villages for the simple fact this is the main highway which travelers, so that's why I have that road there. But there has to be other roads at this time through here. But the text really doesn't tell me where to put these roads, so I never put them there. So somewhere he's just zigzagging back and forth through here, because you got to remember, I've been trying to tell you that these months and what's going on, that this has got to be like the 7th month, because it's not going to take long to travel down to Jerusalem, because they only had 10 months and a couple weeks in their 10th month. Their 10th month wasn't a full month, I think, or it was a full month in just a few days. Can't really remember now. But I've been trying to put a timeline on this. So we got to have it after 6 months now. Maybe this is in the 7th month, starting here when he was here, and now we're into the 8th month going down. I think that's 7th month would be better to say. Right about now is my best guess. When some of our judges, now this has got to have a I thought I remember all the empty spaces to be 11 point. And there's been a couple that I've caught that are 8 or 5 point. So that's to correct the text spacing. Judges and scribes gathered around him. They saw his disciples. This is by themselves, eating their bread with unwashed hands. Together, our judges and scribes asked him, "Why do your disciples not do according to the tradition of the elders? For they eat bread with unwashed hands." In other words, this was a tradition that the elders had taught them to wash their hands before eating. So this is what they're talking about as the tradition. He said, Isaiah prophesied, "This people will honor me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me." And I don't know if this is actually in the text. You got to look for it, because it is here that's being said that this is here. Said it's there. In vain they dishonor me by teaching their own doctrines and laws of mankind. So this tradition of the elders, I can't tie to these as doctrines or the laws of mankind. In vain they dishonor me by questioning the disciples for just washing their hands. So he's specifically calling out the judges and scribes as being part of mankind. Not so much it's going to be about tradition yet. Because here you rejected the commandment from Yahweh, for you are not honoring, for you to honor our father, honor your father and mother. For you are to honor your father and mother. But you say, who speaks evil of your father or mother let them be put to death. Thus you are overturning a commandment from heaven. So, still getting around to the tradition here. He's calling them out as being very evil towards our Creator. And these guys teach this evilness. So this has to be just understood that they're evil. Well, to make sure that that's understood. That they were for mankind. They were teaching. They knew that they were not good. Okay. And he's calling them out for it. Turning over. Overruling the commandment after he called to the crowd. After he called to the crowd to him, he said, "Listen to me. Words coming out of man's mouth can defile man. For from the heart, from man, comes evil thoughts, fornications of murders, adulteries, wants of coveting, wickedness, deceit, sensuality, even slander, and foolishness." Adulteries are covered. I'm just going to get rid of this word. Don't want to tell you this. I can leave that out. It's still covered within this coveting. All these things come forth from within and defile man. About Jesus, he said to his servants, "He is John the Baptist, for he is risen from the dead. This is why he has healing power." His officials replied, "Elijah has appeared, a prophet from the past." This is reincarnation that they were believing in at that time. And here it had John, this has to be, this has to be for, because I know the text above I already done, and I know that he is already arrested. Pretty sure. was arrested. So I knew that. I just wanted to make sure. Now he's returning. So he's got to have John the Baptist probably 2 months in prison now, 2.5 months. And they were preaching, I thought, okay, for hearing John arrested and put in prison because Liberatus was going to beg his brother Philip's wife that he was alive. And John was telling our people, this is not lawful by Yahweh's laws. Yahweh's law. Although he wanted John dead, he feared our people because they regarded John as his prophet. Herodes too had a grudge against him for this and wanted Herod to kill John. Herod on his birthday held a banquet and invited his counselors, military commanders, and our leading men for Israel. Daughter by Herodes came and danced for Herod, and she pleased Herod and his guests. So he said to her, ask from me, and whatever you want, I'll give to you. Give it to you. She went and asked her mother, what will I ask from him? She said, the head of John the Baptist. So she came before Herod and said, I want you to give me John, I want you to give me the head of John the Baptist. So because of his words before his guest, he commanded John to be beheaded. His head was on a platter and was given to the girl, and she gave it to her mother. Kind of let you know how sick these people were at that time. Then John's disciples heard he was beheaded. They came and took away his body to bury it in a grave. Then his disciples went to Jesus and reported this to him. Then some of our people came and told Jesus, Herod now wants him dead. So he told them, I will keep traveling to Jerusalem, for in Jerusalem they too had killed his prophets, yet often he gathered his people there. So we've got Jesus traveling to Jerusalem, now is known. So use this map also. Down here is the city that I'm thinking it could be one of the places that he was ruling from. Samaria is another place he was ruling from, could be ruling from. The king's this was a fortified city, meaning structurally was built up. He had the guard gates that are above the gate to come in and out, fortified, meaning it was surrounded either by building up of trees or they built up walls with stones and or others things. So he is still here when this is happening, but he's going to be going by there. So maybe Jesus goes way over here to go around him. I don't know. I don't think the text really says this. Not sure if I put in a note here, but I'm put a note here because I might be able to put a note there. John came to him and asked, "Why do we mourn for John and his disciples?" And their disciples did not mourn for him. Jesus answered, "The attendants for the king are not to mourn. Their days for mourning will come when I am taken from them." So here he's starting to announce that he's going to die to them. In relation to death, he's telling them, now I'm going to die. Starting here, that is the only important, because they came to Jesus. The disciples came to Jesus and asked him, "Who is the greatest in your kingdom in heaven?" He called over a young boy and set him before him. And he told them, "Unless you become like young children, they will not enter." They will not enter my kingdom in heaven. They describe it as, who is the greatest? Jesus is covering everybody here. How they are to be like they're innocent, or to be allowed for compassion and mercies to enter into heaven. Because we know the narrow gate is those who are righteous. That's because that was our promise by our Creator, that if you obey my 12 commandments, statutes and laws and guidance, you'll be able to enter into heaven. So, for who is innocent like this young boy is like the greatest in my kingdom. Whoever welcomes such a young child in my name is like welcoming me. And I didn't want to make sure it's the same boy over, so a young child could mean a boy or a girl. Whoever causes a child who believes in me to stumble from me, is better for them to drown themselves. Those are for those who are worldly, because it is their stumbling block. I don't think I need to mention or go through all those. What is your thinking? If a male has a few rams and one goes astray, does he not go search for the stray? And when he finds it, he rejoices for it more than those not going astray. Talking about those who have redeemed or wanted to redeem themselves, or start obeying our Creator from their evilness. This is one story that Jesus is going to tell them, that going to rejoice, that people rejoice over these acts by these people. If one of mine does wickedness and one of mine goes and exposes him in private, if that member listens to him, you have regained a friend. If that member does not listen, take 1 or 2 believers with you. So from the mouths of 2 members to confirm your words. This is, if he still refuses, if the member refuses to listen, tell your gathering that member refuses to listen to you, and let that member be to you as an unbeliever. In other words, separate yourself from people that don't believe in the wills of our Creator by obeying our Creator. For example, children today want to become gay, faggots, whatever, and their parents still are wanting them to be their son, which our Creator tells them, and they were killed before in the first days coming out of Jerusalem, or out of Egypt, and was a law to kill them. And then it's kind of like these would be talking to the parents. I'm giving this as an example. And then they're still refusing that, oh, he's my son. He's important to me. Well, they're going against our Creator. So you just mark them off as unbelievers and don't listen to them. Okay? That would be my guidance as well. Stay away from them people that still think that their family sons and daughters are more important than obeying our Creator. Where two gather in my name, I am there. For whoever is for me is for Yahweh. For he is who sent me to you. So again, this is saying you're supposed to obey our Creator. No one puts a patch of unshrunk hide on an old garment, for the unshrunk patch will pull away, and another tear is the result. I think I went over this a little before, so I'm not going to do it here. Nor do men put skins, otherwise the wineskins will burst, or they put new wine into skin to preserve the wine. This I've went over. I'm pretty sure it's been taught twice now. Should I make a note that it's twice? I guess I should. I don't know if I can put that up there before. Because I know the story, it's going to be a little bit long here, so I'm going to call that the end of this video and take a screenshot and start this as my next